In this video of the Play module, we're going to be looking at one specific exploration technique, and that's the funnel exploration. Funnels are a really great way of quantifying sequential user behavior. So what that means is understanding how many users do a certain set of events in a certain order. To build a funnel, we can go straight into the Explore workspace, and we can either add a new tab to an existing exploration, or we can create one from scratch. Either way, we choose the funnel exploration from the dropdown, and now we're ready to start defining our funnel. So before we can build a funnel, we first have to define what the funnel steps will be. If we go to the steps section of the tab settings panel, we can go and click the pencil icon, and it opens up this panel from the right-hand side for us to do the definitions. Now we should have an idea of what the funnel is that we want to build before we start to do any definition. So I'm going to jump into the website that I'm looking at and start to figure out what kind of funnel I want to build. And this is where having an understanding of your own website or mobile applications will be paramount. So I'm looking at the Google Merchandise Store. It's an e-commerce website that sells Google products. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to define a funnel that starts, for example, at the sale page and then goes through the e-commerce purchase process. So it's going to be going into the checkout, adding their payment information, and finally making a purchase. By going to the sale page itself, I can have a look in the URL and I can see that the word clearance exists in the page location. And I'm going to use that as the definition in Google Analytics 4 to define the sale page. So the first thing I have to do is define what event it is we want to look at. And I'm going to use the page view event. But I can't use all page view events. I just want to look at page views on the sale page. So I'm going to add a condition on the page location parameter to contain clearance. And that should be sufficient. Now this of course is going to be different depending on the website or the application that you're using, but in this example, I think it will work fine. Now that we've defined step 1 and we've given it a name, we can see the summary on the right-hand side updates in real time. So let's continue this process and define the other steps of our funnel. So I'm going to click Add Step, and now I'm going to define the step of entering the checkout. For this website, I know that there's an event called Begin Checkout when that occurs, so I'm just going to simply select the Begin Checkout event, and I don't need to add any condition on any parameters. And I'm going to do the same for the third step, so that's going to be the Add Payment Information event, and the fourth step is just the Purchase event in exactly the same way. Once I'm happy with the steps that I've added in and I've given them all a name, and I can see that there's some users that have performed this on the right-hand side summary, let's click Apply and see this in action. After a couple of seconds, our funnel will be visualized, and we can interact with it. We can even hover over the chart to get the user count at each step. Underneath, we have our data table that breaks it down quite nicely in terms of quantifying the number of users at each step. We've got the overall completion rates, we've got the step completion rates, and the abandonment rates as well. Now that we've defined the funnel steps and we can see the progression and the abandonments at each step of the funnel, we can now start looking at time. So we can look at the average completion time of each step of the funnel. Going into the tab settings, there's a toggle there to show elapsed time. And by turning that on, that will add a new column into our report that shows the average time it took to complete each step of the funnel for all of our users. Now you might look at that and think that's a long time. It's taken over a day in some cases to go from one step to another of a funnel. And the funnel that I've created here is relatively straightforward. It's going from a page to a checkout to a purchase. But we have to consider what it is we're looking at. We're looking at user behavior over a period of time. And the period of time we're looking at is what I've defined in the variables column in the left-hand side. So I've got here set to the last 28 days, which means a user could technically have entered the funnel 28 days ago and completed the funnel yesterday, and they will be counted as a completioner. So if I wanted to change that definition, I can go back into the steps edit screen. So if I click that pencil icon and open up that right-hand panel, you can see here that we've got an option to put a time condition for each step of our funnel if we so wish. So for example, if I wanted to put a condition to say a user has to have gone from the sale page to enter the checkout within 60 minutes, I can add that here, select 60 minutes, and then that will now update the summary on the right-hand side. I can do the same for each step of the funnel, and I can change that condition as well for each step of the funnel. So I'm just going to do that and add a different number of minutes for each step of the funnel, just as an example. So now, if someone has gone from one step to the other within this time range, it counts as a completion. Even if they do go from one step to the other, but outside of that time range, then they count as an abandoner. So once I'm happy, I click Apply, and it will refresh the entire funnel, not just the average time to complete each step of the funnel, but the whole funnel progression itself. Now the hard part's done. We've defined each step of the funnel, and we may have even put a time condition on each of the steps as well. Now we can start exploring the data in a bit more detail. We can start breaking down this funnel based on a different dimension that we may have imported into our exploration. So for example, does the user behavior through this funnel change if they're on a different device, operating system, or even country? So we can take a dimension from Google Analytics that we've imported into this exploration, and we can pull that onto the funnel and break it down accordingly. You can see the data table of the funnel breakdown by the device category, showing the elapsed time, the completion rates, and the abandonment rates per device category. It doesn't have to be the device category. I can sort that out for any dimension that I so wish. Now I'm going to hand you over to Dara. Dara's got some insights into how we can use funnels and how they can be an effective tool in our tool belt when it comes to measuring and monitoring user activity over time.
Funnels allow you to prove or disprove assumptions about user behavior. You can even break this data down by all the different dimensions available within GA4. So for example, you could look at the funnel based on device category, marketing channel, or even location. You can also use funnels to do a before and after analysis to measure the impact of any changes that you make, be they positive or negative.
Awesome, thanks Dara. So as you heard, a really great way of identifying those pain points users might be facing to find optimization areas, or even ways to measure optimizations you may have performed to see the impact over time. Funnels are a great exploration technique. They're really good at visualizing and quantifying user flows and user performance over time. Although funnels are a great way of measuring user behavior over time, it's not the only way that we have available in Google Analytics 4. There is something called the path exploration technique, and I've done a whole deep dive video exploring exactly what it is and how we can set it up. But what it does is it enables us, rather than define the whole process and quantifying each step of the process like funnels do, we either pick a start point or an end point, and we explore how users leave or arrive at that said destination. So check out the link in the description to learn how to set up path explorations. That's it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll catch you in the next one.